Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
Hi, I'm very great. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on today.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. You've had kind of an interesting life. I was looking over your bio, and you've spent a lot of time out of the United States. You've lived overseas for many years. You were teaching English. Where are you now? Are you back in the U.S.?
I'm back in upstate New York right now, and I'm teaching pretty much the same thing I did when I was overseas. So it's English as a second language. Yeah, but I'm back home. Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't you just tell us a little about your adventures outside of the country,
Yeah.
and we'll go from there. And you got a book that you're. Is your book finished?
It's all finished, and right now I'm looking for agents, and I'm trying to market it and do all those wonderful things at the same time. So it's exciting. So.
Okay. Well, why don't you tell us a little about your adventures?
Sure. Well, back in 2002, I was working as a teacher in upstate New York and wanted something different. And I just heard some type of calling that led me overseas. My sister was working over there already, and there was an opening, and I left to go to Kuwait. And I originally thought it was going to be a one-year contract. And my school actually let me go for a year to take a sabbatical, but then I got over there and it just the lifestyle really resonated with me. And I love teaching kids from around the world. And I ended up staying there for probably 13 years longer than I originally thought I was going to. And it was just a great adventure. And there was a lot of memorable events that happened while I was over there. And I think it really made me learned that I could handle, I guess, whatever came my way and to be a lot more open-minded and to be a lot more aware of what was going on in the world and just to have those opportunities were great. So, yeah.
What years were you in Kuwait?
I was in Kuwait from 2002 to 2010, and then I moved to Qatar from 2010 to 2014. Yeah.
Okay. Now, how did you find the Middle East as a Western woman? Because I've heard, that women are treated much differently over there than they are in the West, and it's more restrictive for women. How did you find it?
I think it really depends on the country that you're in. In Kuwait, we could dress, I think within reason. Our shoulders had to be covered, our knees had to be covered, but we didn't have to wear the black robe, the black abaya, or the headscarf or anything like that. And when we taught, it was the same thing. We just had to keep our knees and elbows covered, but we were treated quite well. I mean, people were very welcoming. There's a lot of expats already over there for business and for military. So I think Kuwaitis are very used to having us over there. I think there's probably more of us than there are them. There's a lot of Filipinos that work in restaurants and a lot of teachers. There's a lot of international schools in Kuwait. So I think they're very used to it, and it actually feels, sometimes you just feel like you're back home. You have all the same restaurants, you do a lot of the same things, and there's your malls and your restaurants. So there's a lot of similarities along with the differences. But
Okay.
yeah, we were treated quite well actually. Mhm.
So, how did you find the kids to teach?
The the kids were great. We had kids at our particular school. It was an international school, but we followed an American curriculum, and it was private. But the kids all knew English right from kindergarten. They were bilingual, speaking Arabic and English right from kindergarten. And they were wonderful to us. They're very respectful over there. The parents are very respectful of teaching in general. And they were wonderful to teach. And sometimes you would have probably about 20 different nationalities at the school. So you would look in your classroom and there would be kids from probably at least 8 countries. So it's just nice to see their perspectives and how they view life and just to hear their opinions and to hear them talk and they were quite wonderful. Yeah.
What is their general opinion? I know everybody has their own opinion, but what was their general opinion of Americans?
I think they liked a lot of things about the American culture. They were very welcoming. I think it depends on the situation about how they feel. It probably depends on their family and their background and how traditional the family is. And I think there's a little bit of that. But I think in general, they were quite they looked at us quite favorably, when at least for me, when I can only speak for myself. I think they were a little bit careful about how much, of our television and different things that we had in that country, because I think of the Islamic nature. I think they want to um, keep it, contained a little bit, and I think just if you were respectful of the laws, especially just keeping covered up and being respectful during Ramadan and everything, I think they were very welcoming, toward us. So yeah, it was
Okay.
good.
The other thing I noticed on your bio that I wanted to ask you about, because it's kind of interesting, I was there almost at the same time. You were in Thailand in 2004
Yeah.
at the tsunami. You were in, where were you, in Phuket?
We were down in right near Phuket. We were in Krabi, which is in Raleigh Beach area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you staying on the beach at the
We
time?
were having, my ex-husband and I were having breakfast at the time, and the waves started receding out, and people started walking down. A lot of Thai people were there, and they started walking out. The boats were stranded in the sand, and I don't think anyone had a clue what was going on. We didn't know that there had been an earthquake, so we just thought, I don't know, at first I thought there was a beached whale. I didn't know what everyone was looking at. And my ex-husband was taking pictures, and people just kept walking out further and further out there just to see what it was. I think we were just mesmerized by the what was going on and didn't have a clue.
How far did the water go out? I mean, to the point where you couldn't see it
For,
anymore?
for, you could see it, but I would say it was at least probably, boy, I'm trying to think of it in terms of feet. I couldn't tell you. I would say at least a couple, maybe a couple hundred yards. It was quite far out, but you could see like the boats that were the furthest out that were still in the water. They were only the tops of them were sticking out. So I think it kind of the water created a wall. And then it was just bouncing things around that were still far, far out there, while the boats near the shore were stranded in the sand. So it was just forming a wall. It was a very turbulent wall where, water was churning and people were just heading down there and nobody looked alarmed. I don't know. It was the most strangest thing. You know.
And then the water came roaring back, right?
Yeah, and at that time, thank goodness, sometimes, like in Thailand, they have these little shops down on the beach. There was a diving shop, and a diving instructor told all of us to run and that it was a tsunami. And even then, I don't think people registered some people weren't aware of what a tsunami was, especially maybe the Thai people, maybe they didn't understand her, but we all started running. We knew enough. I mean, she just kept saying, run, run, run. So we just headed for higher ground. And luckily, our hotel was up through a path up on the higher ground. So we kind of went back up that path. But yeah, I don't know what happens, especially those people that were out there really investigating. I always wonder what happened to them. And yeah, but thank God for her, because I don't know. The water did start coming in, and that picture I sent you was the last picture taken when the water was just starting to come back in.
So how close did the water get to your hotel?
We were way up ahead, way up above that, but at the time, our hotel was probably a quarter mile up the hill. Yeah.
Oh, so you didn't get any water at all then
No,
up
no,
there, right?
I didn't. We didn't get it. I could hear things breaking behind me. I could hear people screaming, and I could envision what was going on. But I know my ex-husband just grabbed my hand and said, "Come on, we're going." It just felt like one of those nightmares where you're trying to get away and you're going through quicksand. And but I can imagine what was going on behind me. And when we went back down to investigate later, there were bricks ripped out of the sidewalk. There were boats stranded on the beach. There were bodies covered up in sheets, and they were still trying to get things out of the
Uh,
water. So it was just, and I didn't know how bad it was in other areas of the world at that time either. So
we got to cover your book real quick because we're starting to run out of time. What is the title of your book?
well, originally I came up with a lot of names, but I settled on Beautiful Possibilities. And it kind of goes along with just taking these big leaps in life and not really knowing where they're going to go. But if we could look at them as first, look at it as possibility. Okay, something good could happen from this. But then even go a step further and look at it as a beautiful possibility. Like, wow, this could be the best, greatest thing that's ever happened in my life. And going overseas really was that. It turned out to be. I wouldn't have known it then, and I didn't know it until I reflected later and wrote the memoir. But then you can see all the pieces line up, and you can see how they all fit together. But I really like that title just because it makes you feel good that we can take risk in life. We can adapt to change and do these leaps, but yet still know that it's probably for the, the betterment of our lives and to reach our best selves, So
Before you went to Kuwait, had you ever been out of the country or lived out of the country?
I went on one backpacking trip over to Italy back in '98. It was when France won the World Cup, actually, and I never left the country, barely left New York State. And I remember taking a Pakistani airline over there of France, and then for not being abroad ever, and then we were in Paris when the cup was going on, and it was just crazy. And I'm like, what have I done? But it would turn out to be a great trip, and I think I caught the travel bug from that trip.
How long did you stay in Kuwait again? You were there like 10 years or
Well,
something?
from 2000, it was 8 years. Yeah,
8 years, okay.
yeah.
Did you find that when you came back to the United States, you had a different viewpoint of this country generally? Did it change your
Yeah,
perspective? Yeah.
yeah, I did. My whole perspective changed about life and just being in the place where I was living. I got a taste of that, and my perspective about being in a country and accepting other cultures and accepting another religion, and that there's more than one way to do something. But at the same time, and to be more open-minded and patient, I had to be patient over there. But at the same time, I developed more of an appreciation from where I live, and especially with nature and trees and family. Those were the things that I was really missing. So my values changed a lot since I was over there. At
Yeah.
first, I went over there to save money and to pay off college debt. And then after a while, you're like, I miss family. I need nature. I need community. I need to be back with my people again. As wonderful as it was over there, but there was a lot of things that I missed that I couldn't sacrifice anymore.
Well, I've heard that from a lot of expats who have lived overseas for a number of years. And I think people who live here who never get out of the country, they take it for granted
All right.
that, oh, we have all these freedoms, we have all these things, we have all the services, the modern conveniences. And when you go to a country, particularly, I wouldn't call Kuwait a third world, but if you do go to Thailand is certainly a third world country, and you see how they live, you really appreciate what you've got. I mean, even indoor plumbing is
Mm-hmm.
something that not everybody has in the world.
Right.
And
Right.
so it's
Yeah.
I think more Americans need to get out of America and
Yeah.
go see the rest of the world because it changes your perspective. I do believe that. Yeah. We do have to wrap this up. Do you have a website you want to give out? People can come check out.
Yeah, probably the best place is Jennifer Benson Author on Facebook. And then it will have my
Okay.
GoDaddy author page on there. There will be a link for that on there. But yeah.
Okay. And you said your book is out now or
Well,
is it coming
still
out?
waiting. It's gonna come out. If I have to publish it myself, it's gonna come out. But I'm getting agent. I'm working on getting an agent for it right now. So I'm thinking within the next 6 months, I'm hoping to get that out. So
Okay.
it's coming.
Super. All right. Well, Jennifer, thanks so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. I liked hearing the
Oh,
stories.
thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.